Hi, welcome to the September 24th, 4:30 p.m. Zoom meeting for Camden County College English 101 DOL5. That's a mouthful. Uh, I'm delighted to take a moment out from my work here at the White House in the briefing room. New background. That's supposed to amuse you. I hope it does. To talk with you, a couple things on my mind, and we'll see where we go. Number one, to repeat, all Zoom meetings, because this is an asynchronous class, are absolutely voluntary. Nobody will be, could be penalized for not participating. People who do participate in a meaningful or effective way certainly get little gold stars in my book, and at the end of the semester comes and there's a balance to be struck between one grade and another. Certainly that will be something that, you know, St. Peter at the pearly gates and me in my grade book would reward. Number two, we continue to have a couple of, let's call them miscommunications. Number one, when I send you an email, acknowledge getting it. Number two, when you send me something as an attachment, please label the attachment. Do not send me a Google Doc that I have to have your permission to edit. Send it to me. Probably the best way is in the body of an email. Don't worry about the formatting. There are no points for formatting, but make sure that the document itself plus any file folder in which it is arriving has your name, the name of the course, the assignment that's involved, quiz 1, assignment 47, whatever it may be, okay? And also the date on which you are sending it. Let me see. Oh, let's take a look. Let's do a little screen sharing here. And let us look at something I sent you today. This is what I'm using as a grade sheet to, I hope you can see that. Keep track of basically what our transactions should have been to this point. So you all got a copy of this from me today via email, but you should all have an essay. That means you sent me a syllabus acknowledgement. Most of you have not done that. Please do it. WQ was quiz 1, the welcome quiz. We'll talk about that in a moment. A1 was the first assignment, which was the self-introduction. Almost all of you have done that. A couple of you have gone ahead and done quiz 2 already. And that's basically where we stand. So what I need you to do is, if you participated in the first meeting, first Zoom meeting on the 16th, the day class started, I would like you to send me a note saying you were on the call, because what I did was not keep as close an eye on who was participating as possible. And in the spirit of extra credit, I want to make sure to acknowledge that you were on that call. I know who's on this call today, okay? So that's what that's all about. That's up to you to send me an email so we can get rid of the screen share. And the next thing on my agenda is the idea of private meetings. Number one, if you want to have a private meeting, a Zoom call, or just a telephone call, we can do that. We can make that happen as quickly as need be, for whatever reason. Housekeeping details, talking about an assignment, whatever. Some of you have already scheduled that. That's great. You don't have to schedule it, but I want you to realize that at some point down the road, there will be at least 1 and perhaps 2 private meetings with all of you. Give me an opportunity to discuss your writing style, where I think there might be room for improvement, and to answer any questions you would have concerning getting ready for the departmental essay. So let's go back and review what the departmental essay is all about. 10% of your grade is going to be based on doing a time that is a 45-minute essay on a random topic. In the past, what would an example be? Are these the best of times or worst of times? If you're doing the best of times, you would say, we have all this technology at our disposal. On your phone, you can find out everything that ever happened in the history of the world. The worst of times, I'm not sure exactly how you would make that case. You could make it in terms of all the global antipathy that exists, how globalization has brought major powers like the United States and China into conflict with one another, how events like the arrival of the COVID-19 virus are not being handled, have not been handled perhaps in the best, most cooperative way possible. Doesn't matter. But basically, that's something we have to look forward to. It happens around Thanksgiving. And I guarantee that if you are working with me on this, you will be prepared and you will ace that exam, okay? Next thing on my list, the welcome quiz. All right, most of you did it, thank you. A lot of you, well, let me put it this way. I hope that you understand what the purpose of that quiz was. It was not to subsume you in esoteric stuff like John Hanson was really the first president because he was a guy who was in Congress, and there was a committee and he chaired that committee and they basically gave him that title. Yes, George Washington was the first constitutional president, but we had a country for more than a decade before we had a constitution. So there were 6 or 7 guys, depending on how you read history, who probably had that title. That is admittedly academic esoterica, but a question like who discovered America is not. It's a question which demands that you think, because in the 3rd or 4th or 2nd or whatever grade somebody told you or a history book said Columbus discovered America, doesn't make it right. Nothing that's in a textbook is necessarily correct. All right. You've all heard the expression, history is written by the winners. Certainly Native Americans, indigenous people were not the winners in the confrontation with, in the rolling confrontation with Europeans, beginning with Columbus. So contextually, or I guess, as you look at the question, just remember, you can't discover a place where other people are living. And my goal in giving you those questions was not to make you feel that you didn't know stuff. It was to make you question everything that you think you know, and to suggest to you that there are no simple answers. I asked you who the members of the Supreme Court of the United States were. I hope that you realize with the death of RBG and the controversy that will surround the nomination and possible confirmation of her replacement, how much who sits on the Supreme Court matters to you just as a person, not as a student, not as a Comp 101 student, but just as a person. Why voting in elections is a derivative of that. Why who you vote for, whether you vote, who you vote for, is going to affect who has the opportunity to make nominations, such as Supreme Court replacements, among many others, okay? I also hope that after you turned in the quiz, you actually took the time and trouble to look up the answers. If you didn't find any of the answers, let me know. But I hope, for example, that the long quote about not believing that Negroes and whites were equal that has been attributed to Abraham Lincoln. I hope you looked it up and found out that he's the one who allegedly said that during a Lincoln-Douglas debate when he was running for Senate. But I also hope you were smart enough to see that some people say there isn't enough compelling, I guess, history to make it certain that he said that. So just think about what you know and take this to the bank. I don't know very much. You don't know very much. But we have to be smart enough to think about whether the things that we think we do know are correct, or whether they're just a function of how we have been educated, what the context of our lives has been. If you can do that, I think you're really down the path to where you have to be to get into Comp 102 and to do well. Remember, Comp 101 is all about all the rules of writing, all the rules of grammar. Do your subject and your verb agree with one another? Stuff like that. Do you understand that prepositions take the objective case? And that's why we have a book, Rules for Writers, and why you're supposed to be going through it right now and reading the various sections. You don't memorize it, but you see that, and this is my favorite example, how many ways are there to use a period? Okay, more than one. Everybody knows you put a period at the end of a declarative sentence, as opposed to a question mark at the end of a sentence which asks a question, an exclamation point at the end of a sentence that is delivering some emotional impact, so on and so on and so on and so on. When do you use quotation marks? When you don't? Which is a segue for me to remind you to look at the handouts that I've posted on Canvas, one of which is what I call an MLA cheat sheet. So in this class and in most humanities classes, you're going to be asked to use modern language association style. There's a zillion rules in there. You could go crazy just trying to understand all those rules. But what I gave you is an overview, I think, prepared by the folks at Purdue University, but I forget at the moment. And it will give you a shortcut to the rules that matter the most. I'm not particularly concerned about your facility with MLA style, but there are some instructors who are, and when you get to 102, because you're talking about sources and all of that, it becomes even, not just more important, it becomes critical. So think about that. There's also a handout in there about how to write an outline for an essay. The only thing you've had to write so far is the self-introduction essay. And I was thinking about having some of you read them. Maybe I'll read one or two before we're done to see whether you think they meet the test. The test was not to tell me that you were born in a little log cabin and, walk to school both ways, 7 miles, uphill both ways, in the snow, summer and winter, blah, 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 blah. The idea was to grasp the concept that nobody is waiting to hear or read what you are writing, nor what I'm writing, okay? Nor what most people are writing. So you have to get their attention. You have basically 2 ways to get their attention. One is a headline. So think about it. I don't know, the life cycle of butterflies or sex, drugs, and rock and roll. I think the majority of people, those who don't study bugs, would probably go for sex, drugs, rock and roll. So the headline, and secondly, the introduction. In 101 and everything you write, there has to be a thesis. What's the point you're trying to make? Make it, say it directly, okay? But you can ease the reader into that with an introduction that is designed to grab somebody's attention, or if not grab it, at least provoke it. And that may make it easier for you to make your point, your thesis point. We're going to try, because the departmental essay is built on the concept that you're going to write 3 to 6 paragraphs in your 45 minutes. We're going to try to stick with that in terms of overall length. I'm not so much worried about the paragraphs, but we're going to look in the 200 to 300 word range and maybe do a few more writing assignments, but they won't be excruciating in the sense that they are long. But note, it is much harder to write short than to write long. If I tell you you need to do 2,000 words, you would all cry. Oh my God, I can't do that. That's longer than any paper I've ever written, blah, 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 blah. The tears would flow. What that really means is that I'm telling you, you're permitted to engage in what we call diarrhea of the keyboard. You're just typing away and, looking for 2,000 words on your little word counter. And you're not really editing. You're not really forcing your thoughts into an organized pattern. If I tell you you only have 100 words, you think that's great, it's short. No, it's a whole lot tougher. It's tougher to say what you need to say and to convey it effectively in words and in the number of words, a number of words that are less rather than more. Fewer words, tougher, okay? So, where does that leave us for today? Let me read you I would put it up on the screen, but then you would know who it's by. And we will have stuff up on the screen in some of these Zoom calls to look at together. But I always try to remove any reference to the writer. And since these are all self-introductions, that makes it more difficult. So I will not put this up, but I will read this to you. So my name is blank. I'm 24 years old, born and raised in Camden, New Jersey. It was always a great dream of mine to work in the healthcare organization, and I'm thrilled that it will become a reality soon. That should have said, it's always a great dream of mine to work in a healthcare organization. Say the healthcare field, yes, but a healthcare organization. I began working at a pharmacy a few years ago, and ever since, medicine has been of my interest. No, has been my interest, or one of my interests. I'm caring, hardworking, responsible, organized, and have leadership skills. I believe this will help me in my future nursing career. Okay, fine. And there's a semicolon in there. And just so you know, if I never see another semicolon from anybody, including you guys, that would be great. A semicolon only works in terms of punctuating a sentence if both sides, the words in front of the semicolon and the words after it, really are saying the same thing. They're so closely related, okay? It's not like a comma. It's really hard to use or difficult to use correctly. So just think about that. In this case, this writer used it correctly. All right, this would not be possible without my family's support. I have my mom, a certain number of siblings, and one of whom is my twin. Okay, then we have, it goes from the family and says, next, I love to sing and dance. What we don't have in this essay is a change in paragraphs. When you change the topic within whatever you're writing, new paragraph, it also makes it easier to read. I'll just hold it up. Don't look at who wrote it. Okay, 2 paragraphs. There could be a whole lot more. And when I say easier to read, your eye wants to find a place to land. Think about a book. I give you a 500-page book and there are no pictures, no cartoons, no graphs. It's just all copy. Dense copy, page after page after page, with very few paragraphs. You don't want to read it. You don't. If it were more like a novel, think of a novel with some kind of exchange between 2 people. So we have a conversation back and forth. Every change in conversation creates a new paragraph. So you have the little quotation marks, all that stuff, but it moves more quickly. Your eye is less tested by having to follow along. It just seems like it's easier. And in fact, it is, because your eye has a place to rest. Okay, so let's finish up on this. Next, I love to sing and dance. In fact, I've been to live auditions for television commercials and held many concerts at my house for my family and friends. All right, that's a good point. The only problem with it was that it was supposed to be a new paragraph, but not a big deal. In addition, I attended a modeling acting school, music school where I took piano lessons. You might be wondering why I'm even interested in the medicine field. Bad sentence. Not bad because it's not interesting. It's very interesting. But in addition, I attended a modeling acting school, music school where I took piano lessons. So if the writer had said, and music school where I took piano lessons, and put a period, then the question could be posed by the writer. You might be wondering why I'm even interested in the medicine field, okay? So this is good content. A few little things we want to adjust in terms of the actual presentation of the words on the page. All right, then a new paragraph, in continuation. Now, in continuation is capitalized. There's no reason to capitalize it. So the writer might have put, to continue, I enjoy learning new things or whatever, and traveling, though I haven't seen the world as much as I would like to, but I went to Mexico for the first time 10 years ago. The experience was phenomenal, except for the part where I almost died due to an infection. All right, again, very interesting, but it's a run-on sentence. If I were inclined to put it up on the screen, you would see that there's a comma in there. It's a comma splice. So we got too many thoughts connected in the wrong way. So this is the stuff that's easy to fix. Change this punctuation, do this, don't capitalize that. That is what we would call, this is a technical term, the chicken shit of Comp 101. That's easy. If you pay attention, if you sort of get a grasp on the rules, all those things fall into place. Why do they matter? Because we're talking about something called standard English. Does that mean that standard English is in some highfalutin way in God's eyes better than some other form of English? No. Current, contemporary, today's scholarship in terms of looking at language says that any, what are we going to call this? Any way to use words that has its own set of rules and those rules can be followed is as legitimate as a language as any other. Okay. So once upon a time, back, I believe in the 80s, there emerged a language, at least label, called Ebonics. And people considered it a label that indicated some form of Black English. I think it started in Oakland, California. It doesn't matter. And there was a lot of sort of snooty, well, you know, that's not real English. The fact of the matter is that people who understand Ebonics can tell you that there are rules. And although the rules might not be articulated, nor would they sound like what you would say if you were using standard English, that it's absolutely as legitimate as a language as what we call standard English. So why do we even have a class like this? Because the world, much of the world, expects you to communicate in the way that it is communicating. And so when you write a letter for a job, when you do a report for your employer, all those kinds of things are based on assuming a knowledge of standard English. That's where we're going. We're not making value judgments. We're simply saying that that's what people are doing. It would be like saying, there's no reason to wear clothes in a tropical climate. Let's all be naked. That probably has some legitimacy as a point of view, but somewhere along the way, for whatever reason, modesty, religion, who knows, we decided to wear some clothing, okay? So if you show up naked, it might be exciting for all the people around you, but it's also not the norm. So here we're looking to make sure that you can communicate in what is considered the, I guess, the normative use of language for where you are at this point in time. And certainly in academic environments, it's the norm. So that's what we're doing. Okay, so let's finish up here. Due to an infection. My other sour life experience was when I fell and sprained my knee ligament, which was actually funny from the way it happened. Currently, if you saw this, you would see that we're changing topics within the overall introduction of this person, and they all need new paragraphs. Currently, I work in a health center with various departments where I schedule appointments, call over the medical facilities, and work with patients. Best part of my job is to see a patient smile and thank me. Worst part is an angry patient. Okay, all of that was one sentence. It was another series of comma splices. Good thought, kind of airily, breezily written, so it was conversational, which is what we're trying to be. We're not trying to be highfalutin. We're not trying to, pretend that this is a, doctoral thesis or something. We're trying to communicate, remember, at that 8th grade level. An intelligent 8th grader who is trying to understand should be able to understand what you write, all right? Not writing for a 4th grader, nor are we writing for a 12th grader, whom we assume would have more language skills and more depth than the 8th grader, okay? I do have to say that through all this ups and downs, through all these ups and downs, I gotta have your adjectives and the words that they modify agree in number. The best decision I've made is enrolling back to school to be someone great and serve my community. As a final point, my favorite motto to go by is from the singer Selena. I guess I should know how to pronounce this, but I'll say it's Quintanilla, maybe Quintanilla. If I butchered it, my apologies, which is the impossible is always possible. Great way to end, except that the period, if you saw this on the screen, is outside of the quotation mark, and periods almost always go inside quotation marks. So my problems with this are things like capitalizing the wrong words, not having paragraphs where they need to be, some punctuation stuff. It's well written. It's good. It did the job. And I don't think any of you would care about all those things in terms of measuring this against maybe some other introductions that were less interesting. So that's what we're looking for. So in my view, this, whatever's a problem here is totally fixable. And that's perfect, because that's what this class can do. Give you an opportunity to write, let you know that you know how to write, and if there are certain things you don't know, certain rules, whatever, we can fix that. That's what we're here to do. And if you are less comfortable expressing yourself, we're going to create opportunities that will allow you to get more comfortable. So everybody in this class is going to improve. Some of you are going to go from good to great. Some of you are going to go from to pretty decent, but we're all going to do better. And remember what the goal is. The goal is that we all get an A. Effort, achievement. Achievement varies from person to person. Student A, good writer. Student B, not so good. Student B tries, rewrites, does all the stuff that indicate to me that he or she understands the goal and is trying to get there. I absolutely will reward that. I told you, I'm an easy grader. You just gotta try. If you try, we're good to go. All right, what else do we have to cover today? I was thinking about talking to you about quiz 2, but let me see if I can just bring that up for a second. And yes, all right, so we're gonna share again. And well, it doesn't seem to want to do what I want it to do. So we'll hold that for next time. How often are we going to do this? I don't know. Maybe once for every quiz. And since we're going to record it and post it on, oh, that's what I wanted to mention to you. Our first session is now on the YouTube channel I created for this class. And I sent you the URL that will get you to that. There'll be a separate URL for every Zoom session that I record. So you got to keep track. That is, if you do want to go there and see it, okay? That's entirely up to you. There is no, I'm not keeping track. There's no compulsion. I think, you know, in pursuit of a good grade or in pursuit of being able to write in a more effective, straightforward way, you might want to do that. I also understand that you have lives. You know, you all have 6 jobs and, you know, 47 children at home and on and on and on and on and on. So you decide how you want to take advantage of whatever the opportunities are. Remember, you're welcome to ask for a private meeting about anything. I will ask for private meetings with you about your work. I can't force you to have those meetings, but I hope that you won't resist, because it'll be a chance for me to talk to you one-on-one about what I think might be the easy way to improve how you write. And I'll ask you to bring a couple of samples of what you've written to that meeting. We'll look at them together on the screen. So in the absence of any housekeeping questions, I'm going to let it stop right there. You're always welcome to email me. You're welcome to call me if you think it's more urgent. You can email me at my business email. You can email me at my Camden County email address, which is jwillman, WILLMANN, at faculty.camdencc.edu. And if you have not sent me a syllabus acknowledgement, which is most of you, I have syllabus acknowledgements from Bob Bush, Dominic LaMonaco, Nicholas, oh, Nicholas, I'm going to butcher your names, Sarkiaglu, and I apologize, and from Michael Weber. If you've sent me a syllabus acknowledgement, or if anything about the grade sheet that I sent you today is in error, I take responsibility for that. Let me know. I'm not going to ask you to submit an affidavit. I'm just going to assume that you're telling me the truth. If you say send it to me, I'll try to find it, but I'm not going to, you know, I consider this something where it's a situation in which we are in it together. My job is to make it as easy for you as possible to come out of this a better writer and be ready for 102. If you come close to doing your part, we're good to go. That's it. So until the next time I have a chance to see you, be safe, okay? Stay well. And if you have a question, feel free to contact me. Thanks. Bye-bye.